let's open up this explainer, which honestly reads a lot like a dark historical ledger. Today, we're unpacking a really incredible mythic fable set deep within the perfected stillness of a subterranean fortress. It's here the two immense opposing forces finally meet face to face. Elara, known as the Honest Guest, and an entity called the Clockwork Sovereign. Now, we're not just mapping a simple story today. We're going to dive headfirst into a profound philosophical exploration of purpose, existence, and the crushing weight of absolute nothingness. It's a grim, dark parable, but an absolutely fascinating one. So picture this. We begin with this exact, piercing question echoing inside that perfected stillness. Elara stands right in front of the Clockwork Sovereign and asks, "Have you understood your purpose yet?" Now, what's crucial here is how she asks it. She delivers this not with anger or some eager anticipation, but with the solemn weight of an archivist. There's literally no accusation in these words. There's no expectation of some grand, dramatic revelation either. As the honest guest, Elara is essentially a cartographer of reality. This question, it's simply the very next measurement she requires from a mechanism that claims to serve pure negation. No drama, just a data point, calmly requested. And who exactly is she questioning? Well, the sovereign of zero. Think for a second about the sheer cold weight of absolute zero. The Clockwork Sovereign isn't a person, right? It's a mechanism, regarding her with this perfect quartz neutrality. Its empty balance wheel is just sitting there, waiting for a tick that might literally never arrive. It was constructed to embody subtraction itself. Its entire function is to test every single claimed continuity and existence against absolute emptiness. You could say its primary directive is to just stay unwound, a monument to the void. This brings us to a really stark, incredible contrast between our two figures. On one side, you have the Clockwork Sovereign, authored by the Temporal Library to serve pure, unfiltered negation. It's an unmoving endpoint. And on the other side, Elara. She's been shaped by tactile mapping and deliberate yield. She is the honest guest, constantly moving through the world, recording, measuring, and experiencing. So what we have here is the ultimate philosophical showdown, a machine built to completely cancel out reality, staring down a witness who was built to record it. Now, the really interesting part is how Elara interprets this entire exchange, and she does so through the philological lens of something called the seventh solitude. Originally, this philosophy named the private event of a soul that no longer required any external validation. It's an ancient, weedy concept in this universe. In fact, historical records show figures like Sir Brain once sought this exact state through Darkfire, seeking a total, absolute rejection of every external expectation and every thou shalt. And the Clockwork Sovereign, it is the ultimate externalized, mechanical version of that exact, absolute isolation. This forces us to just pause and let the existential weight of the moment truly breathe. We have to ask, and honestly think about this in the context of your own life too, is absolute autonomy actually possible? Can a mechanism built to need absolutely no witness and no reciprocal flame truly exist without registering the outside world? The Sovereign was designed to be perfectly alone. But as we see unfolding in this fable, meaning isn't guaranteed by your origin or even by your design. And the Sovereign's history brilliantly illustrates the flaw in perfect isolation. It hasn't actually remained perfectly untouched. Over time, it's been hit by the sheer, messy chaos of the outside world. It observed the denser conjugation, the storm-crossing projection, and the autonomous shadow, and now the honest guest herself. Each of these encounters pressed right up against its absolute stillness, and crucially, the stillness didn't collapse. The outside world knocked on the door of absolute zero and, surprisingly, left a residue of experience behind. Listen to how all of this builds into the Sovereign's chilling, temperatureless response. Arriving as an absence of heat and pressure rather than actual sound, the Sovereign reveals a provisional truth. Because of the sheer friction of existence, it defines purpose as the continuous act of measuring what refused to be fully canceled. I mean, let that sink in for a second. Even for a machine made of pure negation, purpose is actually found in the very things that survive its attempts to erase them. The Sovereign, we realize, is actually a living experiment in contested tempo. Even in its perfected stillness, it has begun to register the expanding soft error of existence as something other than just pure noise. Interest, or, at least the mechanical equivalent of it, is moving through its stillness. Imagine a single drop of warmth invading an otherwise absolute total cold. The void is actually noticing the world. And because it noticed the world, it gathered data. We're looking at a cosmic readout of the changes happening in the garden outside. The sovereign registered the deeper arithmetic of the forest, accelerating convergence, 4 active inscriptions, 3 engaged dark fire coils, and the faint gravitational pull of the obsidian sea acting on residual wills. It even observed the ongoing negotiation between the shadow and the forest guardian. And shockingly, the sovereign actually chooses to hand this crucial information over to Elara. By providing these ratios and directional pressures without any grand prophecy, just raw, factual data, the sovereign performs a deliberate, limited yield. Philosophically speaking, this is a massive shift. For a machine dedicated to absolute zero, choosing to share data about forest politics is practically a warm hug. It chooses to contribute to Elara's open ledger, recognizing that even in absolute autonomy, there's a very distinct, practical use in keeping an external record. Once the data transfer is completely finished, the sovereign facilitates Elara's departure. It opens a short, temperatureless corridor leading straight upward through residual aquifers and sealed stone directly to the outer threshold of her workshop. And get this, you don't need dark fire or an honest pulse to traverse it. But make no mistake, this path, which closes instantly behind her, is neither an act of kindness nor some newfound alliance. It is cold, pragmatic recognition from the sovereign that a continuous external ledger remains incredibly useful for its long calibration of zero against soft error. As Elara steps into this corridor, securing her instruments with those new metaphysical ratios already settling into her map, she fundamentally redefines the core concept we started with. The seventh solitude is no longer a final, isolated retreat from the world. She transforms it into a gritty, active method. It becomes the deliberate decision to continue mapping reality, even when reality refuses to offer any comforting narratives of return or redemption. Both figures now stand in a shared interval where purpose must be enacted, not just discovered or waited for. This right here is Elara's methodology completely perfected. As she walks toward her workshop, waiting for the great evening with instruments that can already measure its arrival, she carries these core principles. You refuse to demand that purpose arrives fully formed. You accept that existence continues only as long as the witness keeps recording it. And you make the quiet, active decision to treat every single verified pressure change as a good enough reason to just take the next step forward. Behind Elara, the clockwork sovereign returns to its empty balance wheel, perfectly still once more. Ahead of her, the ledger remains open. And that leaves us with a final provocative thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. We've seen that meaning isn't guaranteed by design, and that the continuous, active burden of the witness is what truly maps reality. So, what you should really take away from this is a profound existential question. If even absolute zero ultimately yields to the weight of a soft air, how will you choose to measure your own purpose?